A tariff is a tax placed on imported goods, acting as both a barrier and a gatekeeper in the world of international trade. When a country imposes a tariff, it's not just collecting money at the border, it's making a statement about what it values and wants to protect. Governments use tariffs to shield their own industries from foreign competition, giving local businesses a better chance to grow and thrive. At the same time, tariffs are a reliable way for governments to generate revenue, funding public services and national projects. By making foreign products more expensive, tariffs encourage consumers to choose homegrown alternatives. This not only supports local jobs and businesses, but also helps communities stay resilient in a globalized economy. But tariffs aren't just about economics. They're also powerful tools in international politics. Countries use them to apply pressure or send a warning, all without resorting to direct conflict or military action. Recently, the U.S. imposed steep tariffs on India, not only to address trade imbalances, but also as a response to India's ongoing oil purchases from Russia, which the U.S. opposes on the world stage. The message is clear: change your foreign policy or face the consequences of losing access to one of the world's largest markets. Tariffs become a form of leverage, shaping the decisions of other nations. This move highlights how trade and diplomacy are now deeply intertwined. Economic penalties like tariffs are increasingly used to influence global alliances, making international relations more complex than ever before. The 50% tariff didn't appear overnight. It was a calculated escalation. It started with a 10% warning, then jumped to 25%, directly tied to India's Russian oil trade. Within days, the U.S. doubled down, raising tariffs to an unprecedented 50%, citing national security threats. This rapid escalation left Indian exporters scrambling and signaled a major diplomatic rift. The U.S. made it clear economic pain would follow unless India changed course. The new tariffs have struck at the heart of India's economy, hitting its biggest export sectors with unexpected force and causing widespread concern among business leaders and workers alike. Gems and jewelry, which have long been a major source of revenue and pride for the country, suddenly became too expensive for American buyers almost overnight, leading to a sharp drop in demand and leaving artisans and exporters scrambling to adapt. The textile industry, which employs millions of people across India, now faces plummeting orders as U.S. consumers turn to cheaper alternatives from other countries, threatening the livelihoods of countless families who depend on these jobs. Auto parts and engineering goods, industries built on years of trust and supply chain relationships with American companies, are now at risk as U.S. firms urgently seek new suppliers, putting years of progress and investment in jeopardy. Even pharmaceuticals and seafood exports, which support both coastal communities and major drug manufacturers, are threatened, raising fears of job losses and economic instability in regions that rely heavily on these sectors. With $87 billion in exports at stake, financial analysts warn that the tariffs could shave nearly 1% off India's GDP, a blow that would ripple through the entire economy and affect growth prospects for years to come. The economic fallout is immediate and severe, with factories closing, business owners facing uncertainty, and thousands of workers left wondering what the future holds for them and their families. India's response has been swift and angry, with top officials and politicians calling the new tariffs both selective and deeply unfair. The move has triggered a wave of frustration across the country, with many feeling that India is being singled out for punishment while others escape scrutiny. Indian officials argue that several other countries continue to trade with Russia, yet they aren't facing similar penalties. This perceived double standard has only fueled the sense of injustice, and India is demanding answers on the global stage. Business leaders warn of existential threats to key industries, with some companies now considering moving their operations abroad to avoid the tariffs. Such a shift could cost India thousands of jobs and billions in investment, deepening the economic impact. The crisis has sparked a heated debate about India's over-reliance on the U.S. market. Economists and policymakers are urgently calling for diversification, warning that depending too heavily on one partner leaves the country vulnerable to sudden shocks. In response, the government is scrambling to support affected industries with emergency subsidies and aid packages. At the same time, Indian diplomats are exploring every possible legal and diplomatic avenue to challenge the tariffs and seek relief. Amidst the turmoil, there's a growing sense of defiance. India refuses to bow to what it sees as economic coercion, and leaders are rallying the nation to stand strong in the face of adversity. The tariffs have become a catalyst for rethinking India's entire trade strategy. Policymakers are now focused on reducing vulnerability and building new partnerships to secure the country's future. Despite mounting pressure, India is determined to chart its own path forward, seeking resilience, new opportunities, and a stronger position in the global economy. India now faces tough choices. Retaliation, imposing tariffs on U.S. goods, risks a damaging trade war. Negotiation could mean compromise, perhaps reducing Russian oil imports in exchange for tariff relief. The third path, accelerate trade diversification, forging new partnerships in Asia, Africa, and beyond to reduce dependence on the U.S. Most likely, India will combine these strategies, supporting industries, seeking talks, and building new alliances. This crisis is a turning point, pushing India toward greater self-reliance and a broader global presence. The future of U.S.-India relations hangs in the balance, with both nations weighing the costs of conflict